Hey there, board gamers. Justin the Iron Painter here, and today we're going to be talking about having a hobby wingman. Now, before we get into today's T.A.P talk, I'd like to preface it by saying that it's completely okay to want to have some solitude, to find some happiness and de-stressing when you are alone, doing your hobby stuff and things of that nature. But for me personally, the things we're going to talk about in today's video are going to be things that are personal to me, my opinions. And when I say find a hobby wingman, I'm specifically referring to making friends. In this case, a friend. I find that painting can be rather daunting. So let's start with that. So I stream. I do YouTube content now, or trying to get more into that. I've done tutorials and stuff for Death Ray Designs, battle reports for Death Ray Designs. I've been doing a lot of that stuff, and there's one theme that carries over with all of those things, and it's that I don't do a lot of it alone. I do a lot of commission painting alone, but now because I stream, I almost never paint alone. And I don't think about it because I'm alone at home, but there's a bunch of you guys on the other side of that screen, regulars that pop in. Javasuko, Clan Wolf, T.A.P Soldier has been popping in recently. Nomadic Chris over on Twitch. Wheels McCripple. Bob. I don't know if it said Javasuko, Clan Wolf, and the multitude of all you other guys that pop in and whose names just aren't immediately coming to my mind. I do apologize, but you're there. I recognize you. I know when you pop in. But you guys, you keep me company, and I keep you company. And 20 years ago, you may have had to invite a friend over to play video games with you, to play tabletop shooters, to paint with you, to play card games, Magic, or whatever you're doing, Pokemon stuff, to come connect your Game Boys and play Pokemon. Back when you couldn't connect with the internet, you had to physically meet with someone. And I think that the more connected we've gotten electronically, the more we sometimes take it for granted, and also sometimes don't really think about it. Like, we sit at home and you may want to paint and get that motivation, and you realize, oh, it would be so much better with someone else to hang out with and do it. You've got the internet. It's not quite exactly the same, but you have Twitch, you got YouTube. It's why I preach all the time about getting involved on Facebook and Discord, and posting your pictures of your tabletop battle reports and your games and your painting hobby progress and all of those things. Just blast it, because you're helping motivate someone else, whether they are chatting with you or they are actually just looking at your video, or videos, or your stream, or your photos. You're motivating someone, but that only gets you so far. That helps you connect with individuals when you can't connect in a physical face-to-face form. So one of the underlying themes I've found over the years is that, for me personally, while I do find some solace in painting alone occasionally, I get to be alone with my thoughts, turn on some music, and jam out, I like to be around a handful of people I enjoy to be around, which can be tough to find people that you click with, and that's been a struggle for me. So finding someone to paint with, is fun. But the theme, I didn't even mention the whole point of the theme of this. The idea is that everything I do needs at least someone else. So the painting doesn't necessarily need it. It's just based on what I do, it is a thing. To play the tabletop, it is a necessity. It's a necessity to have someone else on the other side of that table from you. For me to be able to roll dice and try and blow up tiny little soldiers, someone else has to agree to be on the other side of the table, roll dice, try and blow up my tiny little soldiers. And that's that person on the other side that could be a good friend for you. So when I say find a hobby wingman, do you have one? Do you try? Have you thought about it? Have you thought about how other people help with the hobby with you? How much of a necessity they are for you to do what you do? Have you ever thought about that? Have you thought about reaching out and maybe hanging out with them outside of a shop? And have you thought about your demeanor? How you treat people? And I end every stream and I talk about being the hobby community you want to be. Leave the world a better place than you found it. And applying those things to the hobby world, the gaming world. Are you doing your part to be part of that community? Are you treating these people you interact with well? And are you trying to make friends? Because if you aren't, you're kind of missing out. on a valuable aspect of the hobby. And a good case in point, I have a pretty good friend of mine in real life, Bob, Lord 17 from the stream. He comes and he hangs out, plays battle reports with me. It goes beyond tabletops, though. I like Bob. I respect Bob. He's done things in both of his careers, both military service and public service, that I highly respect, because they're things that I didn't have, like the necessarily courage or confidence or the drive to do. I'm a different individual, and I'm able to, you know, enjoy being around someone who's had a different walk of life, which is interesting, a hobby wingman type thing. But also, our friendship has gone beyond playing tabletops. I met him through, I think, War Machine at the shop and X-Wing, and it's got to a point where we're super casual, that we curse a lot with each other. Bob's so professional, it took like 2 years before he ever said a curse word in front of me, because he's such a professional and like serious individual. If you ever see him in a battle report, he's a very serious guy, and not in a bad way. It's just that's just who he is. But when he moved from one city to the next, I guess it's about a year ago now, maybe. I'm one of the guys he asked to help him move. That's something friends do. Like he's not like, hey, come help me move my minis and play minis. He's like, hey man, you know, do you mind helping me move? I'm like, yeah, sure. That's what friends do. Have you considered that some of the people that you engage with could be more than just people at your shop? And there are always going to be those individuals you don't always click with. There's always going to be individuals that you don't necessarily want to be nice to because they're not nice to you, but try and be nice to them. Try and see who you can click with. And if you're not finding someone that can be your friend beyond the tabletop world, you know, keep looking. You know, that's very important. Finding that social aspect and refining it. Finding someone who you enjoy playing Warhammer with, that, you know, when the shop closes, you can be like, hey, you want to come to my house and play in my garage? I got a table. We can take this show on the road and go have a good time there. You know, invite some friends over and continue playing games. But not only that, you've got someone who can be there for you when, you know, you're stressed about something. You know, if you foster that relationship, you've got someone who can try new games with you, that can commiserate when the games aren't going well. And that's something I have with Wheels. You know, Chris Oakes from the Garrison. I met him through doing commissioning stuff. He actually came down to South Carolina on vacation as he was coming through North Carolina. I made it a point to find some time to stop and play a game with me. He kicked the teetotal shit out of me. You know, but he's such a good friend to me in a digital realm. Like, he's one of my hobby wingmen. If I'm having a stressful situation or time with minis, he's the guy I go talk to. But beyond the minis, if I'm stressing in life, that's my friend. You know, and that started out as a business relationship and fostered into like hobby relationship, and now he's just like a friend who happens to pay me to paint occasionally and also does hobby stuff. Just like Bob is a friend who happened to do hobby stuff with me, and, or excuse me, did hobby stuff with me and gaming stuff, and he is now a friend beyond that, and he's a friend who happens to do those things. But if Bob quit Warhammer tomorrow, he's still my friend. You know, like, we've got that relationship. So I guess I'm kind of rambling here, and that's what these tap talks are kind of going to be. But don't be afraid to put yourself out there. And like I said at the beginning, it's completely okay to want to have time to yourself. That's fine. But with these, Warhammer in particular, Warhammer, War Machine, Infinity, BattleTech, you know, those can be competitive games, but you have to have someone on the other side of the table. Yes, technically, someone out there in the comments is probably like, you don't have to play with someone else. It's true. You can play those games by yourself, against yourself, and it's going to be weird. In general, there's a social aspect to it, and I realize it would be naive to think that everyone's social skills are the same. So they're not. And I can be an awkward individual. I'm in here filming in my room with a green screen right now, and I do Twitch, and I do all these things. It's easy to do some of that because I'm behind a screen. It was a little awkward at first, but like I have comfort. Getting out of that comfort zone and breaking through and trying to go to a shop can be difficult for some of you. Some of you are already out there and you're probably like, huh, you know, do I ever really think if that guy that I play with, are we beyond Warhammer friends? Could he be my hobby wingman? Is that a thing? You know, so think about that. But I realize for some of you that if you aren't to that point where you're out there engaging a lot, that it can be daunting. Getting out there and just sharing your art, going to a shop and actually playing, those things alone could be a task for you. That could be something that's hard to overcome. But I promise you, if you have a positive attitude and you approach the games and the hobby with that mindset, that you will get more out of it. The one thing that I like to stress is to not forget that there's a human element to it. That there's someone on the other side of the table there. You know, like getting the confidence to go to a shop and try and meet people, play with people can be daunting. You know, but you don't want to be the guy that goes to the shop and just stomps everyone in the dirt and is rude about it. You know, and is that guy. We've got to feel like that. We got a guy at a local shop that if you're losing, or excuse me, if you're beating him, he throws his models, he yells, and he breaks stuff. And it's like, dude, what are you doing, man? Like, it's a game. I get it. I hate losing too. No one likes to lose, but like, be chill. Like, the more you do that, the less people want to like hang out with you. You know, so don't be that guy. You know, and that could be indicative of things that are going on in his life and other stress and stuff like that. I don't want to presume too much about him. I've not played with him. I've just seen the things. You know, but you have some control over how you act. You know, and you know when you're having a bad day and like, okay, I'm having a bad day. I'm here to play some games, but you know, I'm going to try and not let that bleed through. Having a little understanding about the other guy, and then doing your part to kind of try and help. You know, that's being a good ambassador for the hobby. You know, trying to foster those relationships, trying to be someone's hobby wingman. They don't even necessarily have to be your best friend, but be there for that person, support them. You know, so if someone's having a bad time, like someone's playing with you and they don't look like they're having a good time, just be like, hey, pause. What's up, man? What's going on? Like, am I doing something that's making you not have fun? Is it a list? We want to reset, adjust this so we both have fun? Because for me, I don't want to play a game with you and you be miserable. You know, and one of the things that you can do when that happens is to find micro mini goals to achieve during the games and things of that nature. But being aware of what that other person's going through, you know, what may be impacting them, and knowing that this game you're playing, these minis you're painting together, that may be their release for the week, their escape for the week. Help foster that. And if they look like they're waning or waxing, whatever the word is, like if they're falling out of it and not necessarily having a good time, make sure that you're not a part of why it's not fun, and try and help them. And one example I have of that is I played with a buddy of mine once. He's a local. He hasn't played very much anymore. He's played Space Wolves and Chaos. I think he played Black Legion. And I was playing Tau, and I didn't play an ultra cheesy Tau list. I don't remember what the list was, but I had a Highlander list where it was like a little bit of everything. So I had like all the troop choices, and I had like a couple units of Crisis Suits because I played Farsight, but I only had like one Ghost Skill, one Riptide, one this, one that. I didn't spam stuff. I had one unit of broadsides, which are good enough themselves, but I didn't like spam except for the troops. And then I had, I think, like 9 Crisis Suits, which was at the time I think they were troop choices for Farsight, so it was like three-man groups, which were pretty good, but it wasn't, whatever edition we're playing, it wasn't the meta. It just so happens that during that game I saw like the fun fade from his eyes, and I was like, okay, things aren't going well. I don't feel like I'm playing a cheesy list, but just the cards are flipping, the objectives, whatever, it's snowballing really bad. What can I do to make sure he has fun? So I ignored the objectives of the game. We're not in a tournament, whatever. I ignored the objectives of the game, and I looked at him. We're in the middle of playing, and I was moving my stuff, and we were getting up to the charge phase, and I'd moved my Commander Farsight forward a couple, I don't know, 6 inches away or whatever from, I think it was Abaddon. Because again, Abaddon with Farsight. That close. And then I looked at him in a roleplay type way, and I was like, you chaos filth, you can't best me in combat, or some bullcrap, taunt, like a roleplay taunt. And I probably did some goofy voice in the face as I do. And then nothing else I did on the table at that point. I was moving my stuff around, but at that point he knew what was up. Like, I issued a challenge, and that was back when Chaos had to accept challenges. Like, if you challenged, they had to accept, and if you didn't challenge, they had to challenge you. I charged Abaddon with Farsight. You guys know where that's going, right? That was a dumb move tactically, but for a moment, for him, someone who's very into the narrative, into the fluff, into the roleplay, he didn't expect that from a Tau player. Now, I didn't take the challenge to be insulting or trolly. It was kind of funny and bantery, which is what I like to do. But the guy that I was playing with, I know that he's big into roleplay stuff, narrative. He's all about a fluffy army. He's not terribly worried about super competitive. So I knew in my head, it's going through the gears. And I was like, what can I do that's going to be absolute fun for him? So I issued that challenge with Farsight. And then his eyes, he went from like kind of going through the motions because he was probably doing it for me. He's probably playing the game. So like, all right, I'm losing pretty bad. I'll finish it so Justin gets to roll dice and play. So he's probably doing it for me because at that point the game was going so bad we probably could have called it and just started a new one. It was really landsliding. And then I saw that he wouldn't have a good time. And then seeing his face go from like not having much fun to like what? And then like he gets excited and he's like, okay, I roll the charge dice. He overwatches if that was a thing back then, and we charge. And then pretty sure I did a bunch of wounds to Abaddon, and then I think I passed a whole bunch of like invuln saves, and then it was like a couple turns of slogging it out, and I had like very few wounds left and survived a lot longer against Abaddon than I should have. And then I can't remember if I killed him or he killed me. You'd think I'd remember that part of the story, but the point is, I know there's a time when you've got the game, right? Or it's going that bad. If it's a close game, a couple points here or there, and they're into it, they're probably still going to be emotionally and psychologically invested in the game. But when someone's going through the motions for your benefit to allow you to finish a game because they don't want to quit, and the game's that one-sided or that landslidey or that lopsided, whatever, you as the opponent who's winning have a lot of control on how that win goes down, how they're going to remember it. And from a narrative perspective, which is what I'm all about, I want to forge a cool narrative with you. I want you to remember the game. Like, yeah, okay, the objectives weren't your jam, but like, it's chaos. Farsight charged on Abaddon and issued a challenge. Abaddon's not backing down from that pesky Xenos. Who's he think he is? And then he just, smack. Got the talons of Horus to the face, and then his whatever his sword's called, smashing into Farsight's face, right? That is something he might remember. That is a story. So that's one of those where the chaos, they might have lost that battle, but they didn't lose their honor. It's a very Klingon thing. Like, you might have bested us, but your commander challenged me, and I didn't back down. We might be losing this battle, but I'm not losing this fight right here, and that was cool. And you're not always going to be able to do that. The way that you carry yourself and your demeanor in like a tournament setting may be different as well. But those are things to consider. Knowing that you during the game have absolute control over the things you do. And I think it was when I played with Tim for doing our battle reports for Death Ray Designs, and he was trying to help me with some stuff. There's been some games where off the camera I've talked to him and I'm like, you didn't do that right there because you knew how bad that was going to be for me. And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, okay. You're going to win the game anyway, probably, but by doing it this way, it's a lot closer and more fun for me. I'm just making sure I identified what was going on because you're smart, and I saw the move that you didn't do or the target priority that you shot something else you shouldn't have shot. And, appreciating that someone is taking the time to try and make sure that the game is fun for you, because it's like being a GM. You don't want to throw a game. You don't want it to be a gimme. I've had that before where people have played and they've thrown me a gimme, and like, that's not fun. You don't want someone to just hand you a win. You want it to be a fun game, win or lose. But if it is that landslided, you can be a hobby wingman to someone by trying to make sure that their fun is just as important as your fun. And I realize I'm kind of rambling. I want to sit down and do these tap talks and just kind of start talking about whatever. And maybe one day I'll be able to like slide over and be like, hey, we've got Austin here, or someone else that wants to, potentially have a chat, like a podcast type thing. But for now, it's gonna be me rambling. My thoughts may not always be coherent or cohesive, but they come from an honest place. Now, before we conclude today, with being a hobby wingman comes some degree of restraint and great responsibility, like your Spider-Man, So getting out there, overcoming fear. If you haven't watched that, our first T.A.P talk, watch that. Hopefully the audio in this one's better. It is a little emotional. It's a lot to do with how I feel about things, but overcoming the fear and getting out there to share your art and your paint, your painting, your minis, and playing games with new people. That's the first step. Controlling your attitude and trying to be positive, regardless of what's going on, it's another thing. Once you get to a point where you have control over how you might be able to dictate someone else's fun, you have a lot of influence on that. That's a lot of power. You can really grind someone down and make their experience terrible by the way you act, the way you play, and what you do. But you can turn it around and go the other direction by the way you play, what you do, and how you act, and things of that nature. But at the end of it, after all of that, after you've identified, okay, I've overcome this fear. I'm playing at a shop. I'm confident sharing my minis with people and hanging out. I've met new people. Maybe you've fostered some relationships outside of gaming. Maybe you've got that cool hobby bro where you go get some drinks after the game with. Maybe they come to your house and hang out, stuff like that. And you're identifying how you can try and make sure that their fun is as important to you as your fun, so they keep coming back. You're rejoicing with them when they do good. Hopefully, they're rejoicing with you and you do good. Like, no one likes to see themselves roll bad, you know. And that's something that I picked up from Jason Murray from the Garrison. He told me once that his hobby philosophy or gaming philosophy was when someone else rolls really good against him and does well, he tries to get really excited for them because they're having a good game, you know. And no one wants to be having a bad game with you constantly being, you know, down about it, or you're having a bad one and they're having a good one, and it's somehow their fault that they're rolling so good and you're rolling so bad. So, and I struggle with that too. I struggle with it all the time. But trying to have that mentality, making sure that you're happy for them when they're having fun, and hopefully they're happy for you when you're having fun, and you're both happy together. But that leads you to my final point in regards to being a good hobby wingman, because you can help people have a good time. You can be an ambassador for the hobby. Outside of that, you can help people out with, you know, beyond the gaming, whatever they're dealing with in life, helping them with their stress, helping them move, doing things like that. Being a good friend who happens to play Warhammer or other tabletops. Beyond that, sometimes being able to swallow your pride, right? Being a hobby wingman comes with some degree of responsibility. And with that, I think that the point to drive home is that these games aren't always going to be good ones. And not only, I don't just mean like win or lose or close games or landslide, you know, defeats. You're going to have games like the guy I described earlier who breaks his models and throws his dice and throws his models across the room and gets angry. You're going to have those games. A year ago, we had two dudes at our shop that almost got in a fist fight over a rules argument. That shouldn't happen. That is ludicrous. It's a tabletop. You, as the hobby wingman, trying to embrace that philosophy, you can be the bigger man and walk away from those situations. Don't stand there with the butane and the Zippo and add fuel to that flame. Just walk away. It's not worth it. No one wins. And at the end of the day, if you find that you have found your hobby wingman, or your hobby wingman is someone else, you've got that close friend or two that, you know, you're friendly with people at the shop, but you've got that bro, you know, or I don't know, whatever term you would use. You got that best friend, you know, and you're hanging out with them, you're gaming, you're painting, you're having hobby time outside the shop, you're going to movies together, hanging out, doing those things. Don't ever let your competitive nature that may seep through from time to time, because no one's perfect. Things happen. All you can do is, you know, pick the dice up, pick your models up, dust yourself off, and move on to the next game and try and be better. Be a better gamer than you were yesterday. Not necessarily in terms of tactics, but in your demeanor. That's all you can do. But don't let your actions take away from someone else's fun if you can help it, and don't let it push your friends away. I've been there. You live and you learn. You know, in my early 20s, I was way more competitive, and winning is all that mattered. And that's the things I talk about are things I've learned from. You know, I've had friends come and go. I've had friends literally go and then come back into my life as I've gotten older and matured, and same for them. You know, they've learned to handle situations better, but learn from me. And you're gonna find that in a lot of these tap talks, a lot of my Twitch streams, a lot of my YouTube videos, whatever I'm doing, there's going to be a couple themes that they're recurring. You know, fear is going to be a big one that I talk about, overcoming that, and time. Time is such a big thing for me because at this point in my life, everything moves fast. It's just boom, boom, boom. Everything's moving real quick. I look back on some of the stupid crap that I let eat at me, or the actions that I took in the hobby gaming world where I could have swallowed pride and just got over it, right? So had friends come and go, lost out on hobby time. And I don't mean like, you know, game time with them. I mean like not going to the shop because you're angry at someone, they did something, you know, whatever. At some point you just gotta let the games not get between you. You know? It's not worth it. There's not a lot of time in the world. You were only here for a set amount of time. You're gonna have so much time to enjoy your hobbies with people. Make it count. And before we get off today, I will talk for a brief moment about one of my my favorite games in the world, and I'm so excited about it. My first serious tabletop game was Mechwarrior Dark Age. Now, you may be familiar with Mechwarrior as in BattleTech, and they've had their second successful minis Kickstarter, which I backed, and I'm so excited about those minis. At least I think there was 2 Kickstarters. I don't remember if they did one for the first set of minis. They might have, but that's neither here nor there. They just did their big Kickstarter with the clan mechs. I backed it, got a bunch of stuff. I got it for nostalgia purposes. I didn't play BattleTech as a kid. I played some video games like Mech Commander and Mechwarrior. I didn't play the minis. But my first serious tabletop was Mechwarrior Dark Age. Now, I was a battle master. You haven't seen the battle report yet, but our at least at the time this video came up, you might not have. You might have seen him in one of our battle reports. Jerry, he played salamanders against me and beat me up pretty good. He was one of the battle masters with me. That's what they were called. Kind of like a game master or a judge, basically. T.O. We ran Mechwarrior Dark Age. And I was way more competitive then. But I was starting to come out of that shell because I'd played some other stuff. That was my first serious minis. I'd played card games and stuff. I was starting to break out of that shell and realize that like being competitive rubs people the wrong way. Do more to foster a community and grow that. So became a battle master, and I'm helping trying to grow that community. Had arguments and stuff with people. And at one point while I was there, this was in my, I don't know, let's see, it was 2005, 2006 when I started Mechwarrior Dark Age back then. At one point during my career playing that game, I had a tiff with one of the guys there, and I got so damn angry that I literally packed my stuff up and left. And I didn't come back to that shop for a year. Or at least I didn't play games for a year. I might have bought something, but I didn't come back and play. Sold my armies, sold all my minis, quit. Now, it just so happens that probably 6 months later, the game was just swirling the toilet and they went under. That was serendipitous on that front. But looking back now, the funds that I may have not recouped because I might have got out of the bad time would not have offset the memories I could have made by continuing to play in the heyday of that game for me before it ended. Now, there's some purists out there, some BattleTech fans talking about that game was crap, and that's fine, it's your opinion. But people love what they love. And if you like classic BattleTech over Dark Age, it's no problem with me. I'm glad you like a minis game. I really liked Mechwarrior Dark Age because it was my introduction to the game. It's the minis part. It's why I backed the Kickstarter. It's why I want to play the standard classic BattleTech. There's room for both, right? But because I acted the way that I did and chose the course of action that I did, I missed out on 6 months to a year of gaming in a game that I loved. And I look back now, I look at the booster packs I see on eBay, the starter boxes, I see minis occasionally in the BattleTech groups I'm in on Facebook, and I feel sad. I feel sad because I loved that game so much and had such a passion for it. I had so many clicks and so many, upgrade cards and all those things. The collecting part was so fun. The game was so fun. It was so unique. And you can't go back. I can't rewind the clock and get that year back that I quit and didn't go to the shop and play anything. I can't go back and get my Mechwarrior back and play that game for another year. It would be the equivalent of I get angry at someone at the shop today, sell off my Warhammer, don't get to play for the next year, and then Games Workshop declares bankruptcy. So yeah, sure, I've got thousands of dollars in minis that if I could sell it for even 50% MSRP, okay, I got a decent amount back. And it may be worth less if the game company went under, but that's a year of my finite time, this finite resource of the time that we have here on this planet. That's 1 year that I would have given up of playing, having fun, making memories, making friends. Those same friends, those same potential hobby wingmen that could come into my life that could introduce me to a new game. Same thing with Mechwarrior Dark Age. I did end up transitioning into something else, but could have tried other games sooner. Could have done other things, could have had friends. Because of my actions and the way I handled the interactions with other people, it ended up hurting me in the end. So walking away from an argument or debate or something with rules is, it is fine, but don't walk away permanently. Don't let your pride get in the way of you having a good time and get in the way of you making memories and playing games and having fun. And don't let your pride push away friends. One hot-headed comment and argument is not worth a friendship. Take a step back, take a breath, exit a situation if you need to, and readdress it with a cool, calm, collected demeanor, and get back to trying to be that maverick to somebody's goose, that Iceman to that maverick. Be out there and try and help them for a common goal, because for you to be able to play, someone else has got to agree to be on the other side of the table from you. And it's important that you guys don't forget that. And I think that's where we're going to end today's Tap Talk. Hopefully that wasn't too random. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you like the video, drop a comment down below, as I mentioned before, and make sure you subscribe. Can't follow the channel if you don't subscribe. And I'd encourage you guys to ding the little bell that's somewhere up here so you get alerts when I put up new content. And if there's some other topic that you'd like to have me tackle on one of these Tap Talks, or something you'd like to just ask me, or something I might be able to cover, sound off below. I'd love to hear what you have to say. If you have fostered any awesome hobby friendships that you've garnered from going to a shop and gaming and meeting people, let's hear about those. If you have had any examples of bad things that have happened and your regrets like I had, let's hear those. If you have success stories where you've overcome that, sound off. Let's hear those too. One of my best close friends that we've had our ups and downs, our hobby roller coaster. He's not in the Twitch very often, but I do mention him. It's John. That's outside of my fiance, that is one of the best friends I've ever had. And there are some things that have happened in our hobby gaming relationship that caused us to miss out on a very long time of tabletop gaming. But I met him going to a shop. That was my best friend for a long time. We did so much together, and I got that relationship by just going to a shop. So maybe you guys have something similar and would like to share that. That would be super awesome. And maybe in a future video, I could actually get him to hang out and do a Tap Talk with us. He's still around. He just, with life, he's not able to do tabletops like we used to. But that would be super cool to bring in some guests and stuff like that. So, and as always, as I continue to ramble and find things to ramble about in this, if you enjoyed this and you'd like to help support the content and see me continue to grow and do new things, I encourage you guys to check out the Patreon page. Your contributions, no matter how big or small, really do help me to continue doing what I'm doing, and I do appreciate that. And if you aren't aware, I do some battle reports and tutorials, and also live stream over on Twitch, so make sure you check me out over there, and let me know what you think, what you'd like to see, interact with me. And if you aren't already a member of our Facebook group, the T.A.P Garrison, or our Discord page, I encourage you guys to check out that. As I have mentioned before in previous videos, there's way more of you than you are of me, and those groups are not just the Justin fan clubs. You can come in there and you guys can be my hobby wingman and help me get motivated to continue painting, help motivate me to continue doing what I'm doing, but not just me. You can be a part of the Garrison and motivate everyone else. You guys will always be sharing more photos and more tabletop game stuff than I ever will, because there's more of you than there are of me. Finally, if you're looking to bolster your tabletop terrain needs and widgets and stuff like that, be sure to check out deathraydesigns.com. That's where my day job currently is. And if you use coupon code GETAMPED10, you'll save 10%, and Austin will donate a portion of the proceeds to me to help keep my stream going and all my content creation, and that really is helpful. On that note, I think we're going to end it here today, because I've rambled way too much as it is. And as always, keep on rolling those dice, keep painting those models, and I'll catch you guys next time. If you've made it this far in today's Tap Talk, I'd like to thank you. Like, clearly it's after the credits. I'm done rambling. I'm suited up. It's time to go to work. But sometimes, to quote a film, one of my favorite films, actually one of the few films I've seen 2 times in theaters ever, was Batman: The Dark Knight. And I think it was Dark Knight. Regardless, it was Batman. And Alfred said to, I think it was actually Christian Bale, Bruce Wayne. I think it was him. It was either him or his love interest. But he said something to the effect that, no, it wasn't. It wasn't Bruce Wayne, or it wasn't Alfred. It was Bruce Wayne. Bruce Wayne said to Morgan Freeman, Lucius Fox, the character in the film. He says to him that sometimes people's faith deserves to be rewarded, and I can't really give things to people. I'm not in a position to be doing that. I can do giveaways on stream, obviously, and I can try and pep everyone up and be positive as I do. and continue to try and grow and do what I do here on YouTube, Twitch. Thanks for you guys on Patreon. But to that statement, sometimes people's faith needs to be rewarded. I didn't mention it during the video, and maybe I should have, but not every one of our hobby wingmen has to necessarily be someone we know. I did mention Chris, Wheels. You guys know that I've only played one game with him, and he doesn't live near me, so I don't see him in person. But someone who, for the last year, has stood out among everyone else from the Twitch and Patreon community and deserves to have some recognition is Justin Daff, FKN Daff from Twitchland. If you guys have been around for a while, then last year I took a long break from Twitch. I was dealing with some psychological stuff. I was just stressed out and nothing seemed to work right, things of that nature, and I quit streaming. Probably to the detriment of what I was doing, but we're back on the horse, so to speak, and riding around doing our thing. But after I left, one person stayed in contact with me more than anyone else. Now, I still played games and stuff with Wheels occasionally, but from the community that by and large hung out for the hobby aspect the most, Daff checked in on me a lot. He would send me messages. He would just see how I was doing. He would see me post something. He would check in. He'd ask me about streaming and just have a conversation. That goes way beyond being necessarily a hobby wingman. That's straight up real friendship. And while I do appreciate Wheels, and he's a very good friend as well, and he does some of these same things, sometimes people need to have a light cast on them. And in this moment, that light is reserved for Daff. So, Justin Daff, I'd like to thank you for being one of my handful of really close friends, one of my hobby wingmen. You've done a lot for the last couple of years on Twitch to support me, and outside of Twitch, you've done everything you could to be a good friend and check on me. And you're right there next to Wheels for some of my best friends, and right there with my fiance Amanda, who I see in person, and she would have to be above everyone else because she's my fiance. But I want you to know that I do appreciate your friendship. I appreciate you hanging out and checking in on me. And for everyone out there in Patreon land, YouTube land, Twitch land, I hope that you take the things that I say somewhat seriously, and maybe it motivates you to get out there and try and make friends. And I hope from the bottom of my hobby heart, my wishing that everyone is happy heart, that you can find a handful of real close friends who care about you, want to see you succeed, want to see you grow as a hobbyist and an artist and a gamer. But when those dice are done, when your models are packed, when the paintbrushes are down, I hope that some of those friends that you've encountered care once those things are over, once your hobby time is done, that those people care about you beyond that. I hope that you find that. And before I ramble too long here at the end of this little bonus scene, thanks again, Daff. And right next to him, thanks you, Wheels. Thank you, Java, Clan Wolf, all you guys who lurk and hang out. I really do appreciate it. But again, Daff, you've been the man for the last 2 years outside of Twitch, and you deserve some recognition. So thank you.